Professor Mutahi Ngunyi, welcome to Person of Interest.
Thank you.
It's great to have you with us today. So, let's begin with you growing up. Where did that happen? Nairobi?
No, I actually grew up in Nairobi, yes.
Yes.
A place, Nairobi 1970s. A place known as Maringo in Eastlands. So we are the original people who invented Sheng. We invented Sheng.
Really?
Sheng was we're the ones who did it. Actually, we call ourselves a Sheng nation right now. And Nairobi then was such a beautiful place, by the way. I still remember on our street we had city council watering plants. And we had, that's us in Eastlands, and we had a man whose name was Mwangi, dedicated specifically to sweep not only that street, but to also sweep the mutaro that was surrounding our flat. And the water then was sweeter than it is nowadays. Eastlands was the place that was created then for the African elite. So my father got this particular house in 1958, and that's when our family moved into the particular property.
So it was the posh place, wasn't it Lando as we know it today?
It was a posh, very posh place. One of our neighbors was a man called Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. He had a flat in a place known as Jerusalem. And he had a beautiful white Mercedes. Very, very beautiful Mercedes. So occasionally during, when he would show up, we'll go and take care of his car. And I think that's how I got my fascination with the Odinga family. That was in the 1970s or thereabout. As little boys, we had all these neighbors. In fact, TJ Mboya was also one of the neighbors, not very far from where I grew up in. Charles Obia also was actually a neighbor a few blocks down the road. So all the African elite were there.
Okay. And school? Where did you go to school?
Primary school, Dr. Kraft Primary School. That was a very beautiful school, still in Eastlands. Then I went to a school known as Aquinas High School, St. Thomas Aquinas High School. It was run by the Marianis brothers. So my teachers, when I was young, were American brothers, Catholic brothers. And schooling then was quite something because we had brilliant teachers. Even in Dr. Kraft Primary School, we had Muzungu teachers from all over.
Were you an A student?
No, I was not an A student. I always say I was always number 38 out of 39 in high school.
Really?
Yes.
You hated school or what?
No, I was just a playful guy. I was a playful boy who did not like to do homework and that kind of stuff. It bothered me. The guy who was number 39 ultimately became a watchman. And my mother always told me, I had a friend called Professor Jaoko. He's now a professor of medicine. And my mother would tell me, if you don't study very hard, Jaoko will have a clinic as a medical doctor because you were aspiring to be so when you were boys. And you become the clerk who writes cards for people.
That shocked you into reading, studying more?
I was 15 when my mother told me that. And my friend Jaoko was about to go to university. So I actually was woken up completely, jolted into reading. And actually what happened is that when I got to 4th form, I shocked the whole school. Because I moved from being number 39 to being top 6 in all the streams.
Wow.
And when we did our Form 4 exams, I actually was the only one who got a distinction in mathematics. And I beat all the clever engineers and all that. But anyway, I chose to go and study history instead. It was more fascinating.
So you concentrated more in class, you took your assignments more seriously, you were...
Peer pressure. You hear that boys tell you that I slept at 3 a.m. Another one will tell you, me, I didn't sleep, and it is true. You can see. So as a result, we got into that culture of reading. So I went into a serious mode of reading. I'll go home after school, sleep very early, and then ensure that I wake up about 9 o'clock and I would wait from 9 to about 4. And that's how I was able to catch up.
Yeah. And all this while you aspired to do what?
I had no aspirations in life.
Really? Okay, you just been going along.
Absolutely. Let me tell you what happened.
Even to just be anything you've seen on television.
No. Those days are not televisions, by the way. Just so you know, we had KBC that used to open up at 5 o'clock and it would close at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
But because where I grew up, my father was a reverend. He did not believe in televisions. We did not have a television until I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
So never watched television. So we did a lot of reading and listening to a lot of jazz as young guys. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned it being posh Islands then, and you talk about you guys being the founders of Sheng.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that for me? Because posh and Sheng don't mix. Posh people and Sheng are like 12 miles apart.
Come on, the Sheng nation is probably the most posh. You know PLO Lumumba, isn't he posh? You hear how he
is
speaks.
Posh, but
yes.
How do posh people get into Sheng? Because posh people will, stick to the English and Queen's English, if you like, sometimes.
Well, partly yes, but the difficulty of growing up in Islands is because the boys who grew up in other spaces, we did not allow them into our space.
Right.
Because with time it ceased to be posh. Areas like Woodley started coming up, and Westlands, Muzungus were moving out, and Africans were moving. But those boys craved to come to our spaces. So we put together this language we call Sheng as a way of communicating amongst ourselves in a way that they will not understand. But also Sheng was put together as a conglomerate of all our mother tongues. Mm-hmm. For instance, I did not know that I was a Kikuyu for a very long time. And I also did not know that my neighbor was Luya. Until I asked my father, why is it that when my neighbor, when they bring him ugali, and they only ate brown ugali and chicken, he would remove his shirt and tie a towel around his whatever, and he really would eat the ugali in a way that was a little different from the way we would do it, like this. And then my father told me, no, it's because he is Luya. Mm-hmm. And then when it would rain, because we had a lot of neon lights on the streets in Islands, whenever it rained, you'd have these termites, and we used to call them guya, and you'd have a lot of these green grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. We used to call them sinane, which was by the way, I don't even know the name of that grasshopper in any other language except that, because that was a Luo word. Mm. Then all the kids from my neighborhood would come out with tins and collect them. Then I would ask my mother, why is it that we are not allowed to collect these things? Then my mother would tell me it's because they are Luos. So that's how I got myself introduced to the differences between the different tribes. But the boys I grew up with were all from the different communities.
Alright, so you did very well in school. So after that, you haven't still figured out what you want to become. So what did you do?
Yes. So those days government was very organized. So government came to school with forms, and they said, what do you want to become? I had read a little bit about Kenyatta, and I'd been told that Kenyatta was a sewage engineer, or he used to read meters before he left for Manchester.
Jomo Kenyatta,
the old man. And so I said I also want to become a sewage engineer. I did not know who a sewage engineer was at that particular point. So what happened is that when I went home and I told my elder brother John, who is also my mentor in many ways, when I went home and I told him, John, I want to become a sewage engineer, I finally decided what I would become.
Yes.
He beat me up.
Oh.
Thoroughly. He beat me up thoroughly, and said he's beating me up so that he can move the foolishness from my head. Mm-hmm. That's the point at which I said, okay, I'll study history. And my interest in war and historical moments began around then. Mm. So I had no ambition, to be honest.